So we have an update on the hold on Trump's enforcement of the Alien Enemies Act, and we also have an update on the man who was mistakenly deported to an El Salvadorian labor camp. So it's all bad news. Just spoiler alert. So first, we're going to talk about the Supreme Court allows Trump to enforce the Alien Enemies Act for rapid deportations for now. Again, the Alien Enemies Act has only been invoked 3 times in our nation's history. First time was during the War of 1812, pretty big war. The White House got burned down. And the second time was World War I, pretty big war, World War. Then the second one was World War II, another pretty big war. And also the use of this act, we used it to put Japanese U.S. citizens in internment camps. So that's fun. But my point is, this is a wartime act, as it is been described and is known as. Trump is doing it to basically using Tren de Aragua and these cartels and gangs that he has designated as terrorists as the reason. And yeah, so I guess that's where we are. Anyways, let's read. The Supreme Court on Monday allowed President Trump to enforce the Alien Enemies Act for now, handing the White House a significant victory. They will let immigration officials rely on sweeping wartime authority to rapidly deport alleged gang members. And again, this act, it basically says, yeah, no trial, no due process, no nothing. Just get them out. Send them wherever. Deport them. And so that has led to many cases, including the Maryland man who was deported, like innocent people who don't have a criminal record in America or the country they came from, getting sent to a labor camp where people die and get beat and tortured, have 100 people in a cell with 2 toilets, that kind of stuff. I'm kind of against that in principle, no matter who we're sending there, because it's basically a modern day concentration camp. But I'm definitely against it when we're not even vetting the people we're sending there. Like, it's one thing if they got a trial and due process, sat before a judge and confirmed that they are guilty and indeed a member of MS-13 or Tren de Aragua or whoever the heck. But it's not the case. It's not the case, and they're just sending anyone and everyone. We've talked about the Maryland man, and we'll talk about more of them in a second. We've had cases of just, probably a dozen, I covered it a few weeks ago, of people with no criminal records being sent there just for solely based off their tattoos. We covered a story where 8 women were sent there, and they were sent back because even the authoritarian, crazy-ass El Salvadorian President Bukele was like, yo, we didn't agree on women, bro. We're sending them back. So it's crazy. And people are defending this because they just take the rhetoric from Trump and his administration and Fox News that all these people are criminals. And they're not. And they're not. Because you don't know. Because there's no due process. There's no trial. And the more and more we learn, these people don't have criminal records or anything. And they were just sent there based on tattoos or just mistakes. Okay, I'm going off too much on random directions. The unsigned decision in the case, one of the most closely watched emergency appeals pending at the Supreme Court, let Trump invoke the 1798 law to speed removals while litigation over the act's use plays out in lower courts. Courts stressed that going forward, people who are deported should receive notice they are subject to the act and an opportunity to have their removal reviewed by the federal court where they are being detained. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented from the decision, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, a member of the court's conservative wing, partially dissented. Trump praised the decision in a Truth Social post, writing in all caps, "A great day for justice in America." The Supreme Court has upheld the rule of law in our nation by allowing a president, whoever that may be, to be able to secure our borders and protect our families and our country itself. Trump administration officials, including Attorney General Pam Bondi and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, quickly applauded the decision, with Bondi describing it as a landmark victory for the rule of law. An activist judge in Washington, D.C. does not have the jurisdiction to seize control of President Trump's authority to conduct foreign policy and keep the American people safe, the Attorney General posted on social media. President Trump was proven right once again. No one posted adding, "Leave now or we will arrest you, lock you up, and deport you." Man, these people are like fetishizing this shit. It's crazy. Like, especially because half the people you're locking up and deporting aren't even criminals. Trump framed his emergency appeal as a fight over judicial power, and specifically U.S. District Judge James Boasberg's order that temporarily blocked the president from enforcing the Alien Enemies Act against 5 Venezuelans who sued and a broader class of people who might be affected. In other words, anyone else by granting the president's request, the Supreme Court has tossed out Boasberg's orders. Critically, the court made it clear in its unsigned order that officials must give migrants subject to Trump's proclamation adequate notice that they are being removed pursuant to the wartime authority, so they have reasonable time to bring habeas complaints. Those are suits brought by people who claim they are being detained by the government unlawfully. And there's been a lot of those cases. We've covered a lot of those cases. A key concern among attorneys representing the migrants has been that the government's rush to remove migrants under the law. The act leaves them with little to no time to file such legal claims. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the court's most senior liberal, argued that the Trump administration's conduct in the case poses an extraordinary threat to the rule of law, that a majority of this court now rewards the government for its behavior with discretionary, equitable relief is indefensible, she wrote. We as a nation in a court of law should be better than this, bear it through, though she did not write separately, joined a key portion of Sotomayor's dissent, questioning whether habeas claims should be exclusive way for people to challenge their deportations under the act. The court's order comes a day before Boasberg was sent to hear arguments over whether to indefinitely block Trump's use of the wartime authority for deportations. The judge is separately weighing whether probable cause exists to hold Trump administration officials in contempt for violating his orders. When it allowed deportation flights to continue last month, Trump and other administration officials have repeatedly attacked Boasberg as exceeding his authority, earning the president a rare rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts, which meant absolutely nothing because he ended up bending and, instead of being someone that's like, maybe, just maybe the Supreme Court will do the right thing for once, he pretty much threw that out the window, as we're about to read. So, I mean, it wasn't a good bet to place our faith in the Supreme Court in saving democracy anyways, but you had to put hope somewhere, I guess. In her searing dissent, Sotomayor said the compliance issue before Boasberg should be reason enough to doubt that the government appears before this court with clean hands. That is all the more true because the government has persistently stonewalled the district court's efforts to find out whether the government, in fact, flouted its express order. She wrote later, adding that the administration's conduct in this litigation poses an extraordinary threat to the rule of law. In a separate dissent, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson blasted the majority for ruling on the case using the emergency docket without oral arguments or more considered briefing. Jackson referenced the 1944 Korematsu case in which the Supreme Court infamously allowed for the internment of hundreds of thousands of Japanese Americans during World War II, as we had mentioned earlier. I lament that the court appears to have embarked on a new era of procedural variability, and that has done so in such a casual, inadequate, and, in my view, inappropriate manner. At least when the court went based off in the past, it left a record so posterity could see how it went wrong. Trump's invocation of the centuries-old law. We're not going to read that. I want to move on to this article. Chief Justice Roberts pauses deadline for return of Maryland man mistakenly deported to El Salvador. We went over this the other day. This guy has no criminal record in the U.S. or El Salvador. He was detained in it's either 2017 or 2019 and was set for deportation because I think some confidential informant said that they had links to MS-13, but there was no evidence or anything. So the judge said, like, what are you talking about? Get out of here. And they basically put an order that, hey, this guy can't be deported. We already reviewed, looked over the evidence or lack thereof. He ain't a part of MS-13. He has a wife. He has a kid. So 5, 6, 7 years later, however long it was, depending on when that first happened, he gets detained again and then instantly deported to an El Salvadorian labor camp. And the administration admitted it was a mistake. And then they turned around and doubled down on it. And we're like, oh, no. Yeah, it was an administrative error. But he's still a MS-13 gang leader, and he should be there. So that was like one avenue they went. The other avenue was like, well, he's in El Salvador now. We don't have custody over him. We can't return him. What do you want us to do? That's a lie. Like, I mean, obviously he's not in your custody currently, but it would take one fucking phone call. Let's be real. One phone call and Bukele would send them back over. You just don't want to. Remember, this man has no criminal record in the U.S. He was already investigated and went through the whole judicial process once. No criminal record in the U.S., no criminal record in El Salvador. He originally was like kind of granted stay in the U.S. because if he went back to El Salvador, he was probably going to get murdered by a bunch of gangs. Now he's going to get murdered by probably a bunch of gangs in prison or the guards at the prison. And, you know, the judge was just trying to get this man home, back to his wife and kid. And, you know, and now the Supreme Court weighs in and says, fuck off. So I don't think we need to cover this whole article, but Chief Justice John Roberts agreed on Monday to pause a midnight deadline for the Trump administration to return a Maryland man mistakenly deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador. Temporary order comes hours after a Justice Department emergency appeal to the Supreme Court arguing U.S. District Judge Paula Zenas overstepped her authority when she ordered Kilmar Abrego Garcia returned to the United States. Trump administration has conceded that Abrego Garcia should not have been sent to El Salvador because an immigration judge found he would likely face persecution by local gangs, but he is no longer in U.S. custody and the government has no way to get him back, the administration argued. Like, that's such bullshit. That's such bullshit. One phone call. You can get him back. You just don't want to, whether because you're just genuinely that inhumane and shitty, or you really just don't want to admit that. Like, that would really cement that you fucked up. But you know what would just make it a little bit better if you just said, our bad, we made a mistake. As Elon Musk would say, mistakes happen, but we quickly fix them. But no, they're just saying, like, screw you. Yeah, and this is pretty much stuff we already covered. Watch my video, I think it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. Like, we went over this man's record, everything we know about him. Not an ounce of evidence that he's a criminal or an MS-13 gang leader. Just a husband and a father sent to a labor camp where the conditions are just terrible. This makes me so freaking sad because you have Republicans all over just running with the narrative of the Trump administration. Either the whole, he's not in U.S. custody, we can't bring him back, bro. What do you want us to do? Or the whole, like, he's a criminal. They said he's a criminal. They said he's a gang leader. How dare the leftists try to keep defending these gang members? It's like, you guys are missing the entire point. Like, not only is it coming out that most of these people aren't criminals, but, like, you're also missing the entire point that due process is gone. It's one thing for all these mass deportations, but it's another thing to send these people to labor camps, especially when a lot of the people you're sending are here legally, came here through legal methods. And this is what they get. They have a tattoo and they get sent to a labor camp. Like, what are we doing? This is the complete erosion of due process and the Constitution. What are we doing? Stop defending this shit. Like, I am all for going after gang members and Tren de Aragua and MS-13, whatever. I'm all for it. Get them out of here. But we have due process and a justice system for a reason, so that we aren't making mistakes and sending people who are actually innocent and not criminals. Or make sure we're not sending them to a freaking labor camp. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.